Okay, welcome everyone. I've been thrown at the deep end, and I'd like to welcome you to reading chapter 7 of Defeating Dictators. You're most welcome, Comrade Amina. Most welcome, Comrade Chibet. Most welcome, Lazare. Most welcome, Philip. Um, but Pigbean is having problems with his sound, but he's asked us to start. So, if you can hear me, I would love a volunteer to read the passage for us, chapter 7. And Pigbean is going to be scrolling for us. Thank you. Any volunteers can start reading. Any readers? Can everyone hear me? Hello? Am I audible? Oh, thank you, Amina. Thank you. Yeah. I often do the reading, but I was hoping someone would take up the reading. If there is no one, I could still read. Anyone? No. Well, can I chair and read at the same time?
Uh, I can read with my French accent.
Yes, that's fine. Oh, that's beautiful.
Uh,
Very
uh,
much.
okay, let me. It's really small. It's really okay. We've done a lousy job in government, while ZANU-PF have used the last 21 months to refocus and reinvent themselves. We've lost our identity. ZANU-PF are as brutal and corrupt as before, but much richer. They've got an almost total grip on the Marange diamonds in the cast of the country in the east, and still control the media and security forces. They are much better organized than we are. The polls may still show us in the lead, but almost half the electorate refuse to say how they will vote. There's likely to be massive apathy among MDC supporters. If we went to the polls now, I think we could lose. We've got to start fighting. A senior official of the Movement for Democratic Change, MDC in Zimbabwe. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Opposition weaknesses. This part of the book has been difficult to write because, as we noted earlier, it would be callous and even cruel to suggest that freedom fighters who have been jailed and tortured for their courageous struggle for freedom should have done things differently and thus, by inference, deserved the punishment or fate they suffered. However, this is not the intention. As we saw in the previous chapter, not all revolutions succeed. Failed revolution not only cost lives and resources, but also set back the march to freedom. For every force in nature, there is a counterforce. A force dominates because a counterforce is either non-existent or weak. Democracy has suffered a steady decline for the fifth year in a row because the counterforce of the resistance, both domestic and international, has been weak or crumbling. With such weak resistance, tyrants triumph, dominate, and become smug. In too many places, the opposition is hopelessly fragmented, disorganized, and prone to squabbling. The opposition's message of freedom has also become contaminated with religion, ideology, tribalism, secession, and other sectarian issues. We take up the case of international opposition in Chapter 9. African and Middle Eastern autocrats are masters at outsmarting their quarrelsome opponents and quashing protest. For those of us in the struggle for corrective steps to be taken, critical self-appraisal and review of strategies are necessary. There have been far too many cases where the opposition has blundered and squandered golden opportunities, allowing tyranny to become more entrenched. Here are a few examples. Oh, Ethiopia, there were 90 opposition parties, most of them ethnically based, challenging the despotic regime of Meles Zenawi in the May 2010 election. Syria. According to The Economist, Syrian anger is not only directed at President Bashar Assad and his regime, but also at the opposition. Half a year into the uprising that had resulted in over 2,200 dead, Syrian opposition groups have been unable to unite. Conferences upon conferences and statements after statements have not produced a united front. On August 29, a new National Council was formed and published a list of 94 members, but many immediately distanced themselves from it. Some subsequently agreed to be included. Uzbekistan. Since 1989, the country has been ruled by President Islam Karimov, a former Communist Party boss, who crushes and silences the political opposition. When a presidential election was held in Uzbekistan in 2007, his three opponents each publicly endorsed him. In the 2009 parliamentary elections, all four parties in the race staunchly supported Karimov. Too often, those who set out to liberate their countries from tyranny end up selling out, fighting among themselves, and sowing confusion and carnage. Some opposition leaders are themselves closer dictators, exhibiting the same tyrannical tendencies they so loudly denounce in the despots they hope to replace. Too often, in the past, many such liberators transformed themselves in less than a year into another bunch of vile despots or crocodile liberators far worse than the dictators they replaced. Well, I don't know if someone would like to continue.
Thank you very much, my brother. Is there anyone else who'd like to stand in and continue the reading, please? If there is, just jump in there and start reading. Thank you. Anyone? Okay, I can read. The opposition movement itself needs to be reformed. In too many countries, the leadership of the established political opposition is wooden, senile, and out of touch with domestic realities. Some have preached the same message for decades without getting any traction. Others have spent decades in exile. Very few can be said to be techno-savvy. Many are not even capable of surfing the internet and sending text messages and emails to the youth. When the established opposition becomes moribund, a third force emerges that shoves it aside. The third force may take the form of a rebel insurgency, in which rebel leaders take to the bush after losing faith in the ability of the opposition to effect political change. Or it may take the form of a youth movement to sweep the opposition leaders away, as occurred in Tunisia, Egypt, and elsewhere in the Arab world in January 2011. When the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt chanted, Islam is the solution, a youth at the Cairo demonstration held a placard that read, Tunisia is the solution. As Sudanese commentator Magdi El Ghizaoli noted, the January 30, 2011 protesters were equally frustrated by the inadequacies of the oppositional political parties, a concern that found its expression in the slogan Shabab la Awzab, youth, no political parties. Opposition unity or alliance or democratic forces. I'm wondering, is PIC been on, or should we just discuss this, what we've read so far? Yes, okay, let's discuss. Comrades, feel free to make any comments. Tell us what you think about the chapter that we're reading on strategies, and particularly the weaknesses of the opposition parties. Is there anyone who would like to take us through their thoughts? Anyone? If not, with someone speaking? Okay. If there are no volunteers, I could maybe just go through the list of the people in the meeting and we can all share our thoughts. Remember, there's no right or wrong. Just feel confident, express yourself, and tell us what your opinion is. I am going to start with, I don't see any hands up. So I'm going to go down my list. And the first person on the list, excuse my pronunciation, is Jebet Amdani. And then after that, we've got Amina in that order. Jebet, what's your comment about the passage so far? Yes, your mic is unmuted. You can say whatever your thoughts are or pass if you're not ready to speak yet. Oh, we've lost Jebet. Can I go to Amina then? Amina? After Amina, possibly Grace.
Hello.
Amina, yes, thank you, Amina.
Hello. Thank you too for taking your time to read the passage. I've got a phone call in between, so I kind of missed the first part of the reading. So, but from what I am able to capture, I think it's to do with the opposition parties weaknesses, the things that they need to have in place in order to be able to defeat the incumbents, especially when they have overstayed their time. And what I understand as well is that um, sometimes people will use religion, tribe, or faith in order to what is it called again? To poison people's mind instead of looking at the interests of the country, forgetting that not one tribe or one religion is in full control of the country, but we should rather look at the interests of everybody. I think the part that you read about when the youths step in Egypt, looking at the interests of the country rather just to see that the place is a Muslim country or something. I think I had something like when the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt chanted, Islam is the solution. So youth at the Cairo demonstration held. So instead of looking at Islam as the solution, they should look at what benefit Egypt. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I think I will need time to read it furthermore
Okay.
to get a better comprehension.
Okay, thank you very much for that insightful feedback. Particularly, we look at how tribal some of the opposition groups are. I think there was a figure of 90 something in one country where people are failing to unite. That's massive. It's a
It
sure
is,
way to conversation. Yes. Sister Grace, your turn. Any comments yet?
Oh, I've just come in, so I missed the reading. I just heard the bit about texting, not capable of testing, using social media and to engage with the youth, which I would agree with, because a lot of people think Facebook and all these other ones are for young people, therefore they don't get involved, or they just use them for posting pictures of themselves, just for people to see how they are dressed and all that. And I think, again, I'll give an example of my own country. I think that's how the politicians missed what was happening on the ground, because they kept saying, oh, Facebook doesn't vote. Oh, that is a Facebook political party. Don't listen to them. So they thought what was happening on the ground was different from what was happening on social media. And they got the shots of their lives when the elections happened. And the outcome just shocked everybody. They kept saying, how did that happen? How did it happen? Because they were not listening to what the young people were saying on Facebook, because they don't really count. They just feel they don't know anything. They don't know what they're doing. They just talk. They call them, what is it? Facebook warriors, meaning they just type nothing that they know about. And then because the politicians were at the time mainly the elderly, they had no idea what was happening amongst the young people. So when it came to voting, they just voted for the youngest people they had, and all the 3/4 of the old politicians were gone, and it's just young, new people in politics now. So a lot of people didn't go through, but they were just shocked at the results.
Yes, that's very interesting, my sister. Which means that because our chapter is on strategies, particularly opposition, the opposition needs to up its game, as it were, and be techno savvy, because that's where the young people are, who are the majority in Africa, and most of the so-called, in quotation marks, developing countries.
Mm.
Yes.
And
Any other?
I think what the opposition, which is now in power, what they had done is recruit a lot of these young people,
Mm-hmm,
and giving them information to post.
mm-hmm.
So the message got through, and they succeeded.
Absolutely. And the introduction to this chapter is a quotation from Zimbabwean opposition. And my being Zimbabwean, I think, makes that pertinent because the older parties have caught on in terms of technology and even having WhatsApp department heads and ministers and what have you. And we kind of sniffed at it when they started, when ZANU-PF started having somebody who was heading the WhatsApp kind of thing. And they're just flooding social media with their own news. So it really is them waking up and catching on. But the opposition, because it doesn't control the media and so on, they're struggling to push through. But if they took advantage of the social media, then maybe messages could come through.
And
Anyone else?
and I think and I think that's what also went wrong, because politicians are used to paying the media, the
Yeah.
mainstream media, to publish what they want them to publish. So the mainstream
Mm-hmm.
media does not publish what's going on, but what they are being told to publish, what they have been
Yeah.
paid to publish. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
social media is free for all, and they
Yes.
just post things that they wouldn't publish. So the
Mm-hmm.
mainstream media, nobody was listening to them. Even the politicians were complaining. People are no longer listening to the mainstream media, trying to say the
Mm-hmm.
mainstream media is the genuine one, and people are not
Mm-hmm.
listening to it, but listening to all these whatever people on social media. But the
Yes.
campaigning was winning, the social media campaign.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sister Grace. Uh, may I go to Amina? Amina, any comments? After Amina, if there is no hand up, we go to Ifo. Excuse my pronunciation, my brother Ifo. Amina and then Ifo. Start with Amina.
Uh, no, I don't have any comments at this time.
Mm,
Thank you.
mm. Amina, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm assuming that since we're in this group reading Defeating Dictators, we
Mm-hmm.
could be part of the opposition. Is there anything that has resonated with you that's been read, or is there anything that we can do to try and improve our strategies as opposition?
Um, to improve strategies, well, I would use Gambia as an example.
Mm-hmm,
Um, in many cases, when they elect leaders into power,
mm-hmm,
they kind of use too much of religious religious beliefs. I'll use this
mm-hmm,
as an example when they are calling them to swear the oath of uh, which is how they're going to be serving the country. I always said I think I'm kind of against that because being it Muslims or Christian, if they swear by Quran or the Bible, okay, let's
mm-hmm,
say if they swear by the Quran, they're Muslims, but when they come to power, they are using this to deceive people. So instead of allowing them to swear by these books, why can't the country write something that is within their values that serves the interest of every single person in that country? And I'd ask
mm-hmm,
them to swear by that. And if they fail to um, to do what they are asked to do, then it comes with consequences. Because if you allow them to swear by these books, some of them are even holding these books, but they don't even know the content. What is in those books? They're not even religious. Maybe they are just by the name, or they just by the, they are just like, they are part of, I don't know, it's just by the dress code, but they don't even understand what they are swearing. Because I have seen this problem happening all the time. So that way, just because they swear that by that book, people are not holding them into account. Swearing by those books, to me, it's not enough. That should be off. Every country should have their own, mandate that should be given to them. You accept it, go ahead. You don't, this is the consequences. I'm saying this because I've seen all those who have sweared by these books. When they come into the power, they don't do nothing. So to me, that is something that also that strategy could be used, so that when they come into power, they know that everybody is watching. And if I don't, I'm going to be held accountable. And that book should be available. What they have been sworn of should be available to everybody. Everyone should have access to it. So that, if they know everyone is, when you know people are watching you, you are careful. But when people,
Yes.
when you deceive people to make them believe that, oh, let's leave it in the hand of God, this is why they are not doing what they're supposed to do, because they know God is not going to come from anywhere to hold them accountable. You understand? So people are the
Yes.
one going into those polls to vote. So those people
Yes.
should hold them accountable, not God that me and you don't see.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sister Amina. Because like the part of the text says, when I think it was Egypt where the placards read, Islam is the answer. Oh, no, it's
Mhm.
Tunisia. Islam is the answer. Some young person in the crowd was holding Tunisia is the answer. And that mentioning the country is inclusive. In other words, we need to find a strategy that includes
Exactly.
everybody. If we're
Hmm.
talking about Islam, some people might not even understand what Islam is or have
Exactly.
a superficial understanding of what Islam is. And
Hmm.
if we know Islam, there are branches of Islam that do not agree with each other. So there's a
Hmm.
danger of including further division amongst the people if we go by religion. Thank you very
Hmm.
much, my sister. Um,
Thank you too.
can we go to Ifo and then Lazar after Ifo?
I just came in a few minutes ago, so I don't have too much to say apart from I agree with the last statement that we should be mindful of the colonizer's religion, whether that's the colonizer from the Arab world or the colonizer from Europe, and also be mindful of using the colonizer's systems of governance, which were not designed to help us but to destroy other peoples. But that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you, my brother. Um, since you've mentioned that we need to be aware of the dangers of adopting either the colonizer's religion or the colonizer's systems, what do you have in mind? How should we proceed to defeat these dictators? Because a lot of the dictators come in and use the systems that are there, that have been put in place by those people who want to perpetuate the system that benefits them. How should we get out of this stranglehold? Would you mind hazarding some suggestion of how we could go about getting out of this stranglehold?
Oh yes, there are simple but drastic solutions that we can take. It involves knowing who we are, not who they say we are, but who we truly are. And then secondly, collectively finding out in the specific areas where we are how our ancestors govern themselves. And if we
Mm-hmm.
say that we are independent, then we should run ourselves based on our wise ancestral ways. Now, the reason why I'm saying wise ancestral ways is because not all of our ancestors were wise. So
Absolutely.
those of them that made mistakes, we can learn from those mistakes. But there's a principle in Ghana they talk about Sankofa, where we go back and bring it forward. The problem I see with most of us who have colonial education is that we don't think that there's anything worthy in our past. So we keep looking at everybody else but ourselves. The answers are within our ancestral teachings. There's deep wisdom there. But most of us have been brainwashed to hate our own roots and to love everybody else but ourselves. So the answer is within us.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much, my brother. Um, I'm going to throw a question to the whole group or anyone else who would like to respond. My brother Lazaro, you can continue in response if you so wish. The systems that we've inherited in Africa, um, including the boundaries and the systems of government, are so entrenched, and we are alienated from the old systems. How are we going to implement it, the new system that we want to put in place? Because I'm just imagining the dictator has fallen. What strategies should we have to kind of introduce a system that helps us to go in the direction that we need to go, which is sankofaring and moving us forward? Any thoughts or suggestions about how to do that? Because a lot of people are scared and because they can't think of anything immediate. So we're living with the devil that we know. What should we do?
Um, I oh sorry, go
Okay,
ahead.
no, I'm just thinking here. Sorry, my brother. I'm just thinking of the Sahel. They've come up with a method of trying to turn things around. Would we think that's an example that we could use to try and find our way and establish our own way whilst breaking away from the claws of the colonizers?
Um, the Sahel way um, is one way, but I would not necessarily consider it. I would consider it a step in the right direction, but still shackled by Arab colonial ideology,
Okay.
which is problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that being said, I think the need for collective economics that
Mm-hmm.
because if we continue to use the colonial capitalist system
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to cooperatives or
Mm-hmm. Oh, have we lost my brother? Brother Ifo, I think we've lost you, if you can hear me.
Hello, Sister Tapua.
Yes.
I would really like to hear what members think on this paragraph that is on the screen. That too often.
Okay. All right. Um, okay. Right. Thank you very much, my brother, for redirecting us. That paragraph, I'm going to quickly read through it, and then we're going to um, go down the passage, the list of people finding comments. The paragraph reads, too often, those who set out to liberate their countries from tyranny end up selling out, fighting amongst themselves and sowing confusion and carnage. Some opposition leaders are themselves closet dictators, exhibiting the same tyrannical tendencies they so loudly denounce in the despots they hope to replace. Too often in the past, many such liberators transformed themselves in less than a year into another bunch of vile despots or crocodile liberators, for worse, far worse than the dictators they replace. Any comments on that, please? Any volunteers?
My apologies, my computer crashed. I'm not sure where I left off.
Okay. We've got a hand up. I can't tell whose hand that is.
It's WHK.
Yes. So, welcome. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Greetings to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That passage, to me, says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should ask a question first. I don't know, and maybe just as a thought. Let me put it this way: is corruption an ideology? If it is or if it isn't, what is the ideology with which to fight against corruption? I will leave it there. And while we are there, most oppositions chant corruption, corruption, corruption.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm confused whether corruption is the easiest way to fight when you are fighting the government in place, or why is it so prominent? And whoever takes over, corruption just keep on growing.
Mm-hmm.
So now, these people, many a time, the opposition, many a time, they see a gap, like you would call it in business terms. They see a niche somewhere there, but they lack the political ideology to take any country forward. So once they have taken the reins of government, they get in a state of confusion because they don't know where to end. They don't know where to start. And the thing is, even if they are confused and they don't know where to start, it has now sunken in their mind that they shouldn't relinquish power, this power that they have seized. So desperate to retain this power that they have seized by whatever means, by whatever lie, they become more worse than the person that they have toppled or the person that they have replaced. Because what is now in their mind is just survival, to stay in that position that they have taken. And that's why they became, in my opinion, more worse than the other one. The other one, especially the ones that comes from liberation wars, the Mugabes, them, the Sam Nuyomas, them, at least they had a clear-cut ideology, and that is to liberate the country. And that's why they had popular support. But the one that had to topple them or replace them, they were just pure opportunists who saw some of an opening there. And many a times, oppositions are funded by the ruling. They are small babies of the ruling parties. And many a time, oppositions are splinters from the ruling party. Meaning they grew up in the same ideology as the ruling party. But now their time has come also for them to become leaders. So they splinter from the main group and form opposition, which does not have a clear-cut direction as to what should be done. And many a time, these people who goes and form oppositions out of the big parties are backbenchers, are not the big heavyweights per se, are just people who stand up. Seriously, who one can say, but what does he know? But then he piggybacked on, say, corruption or anything that tastes nice at that moment, and people swing to them, and then from there he doesn't know what to do. Let me stop there.
Yes. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wanting to add on to this? The strategy.
Like Sister Tapua, maybe I can still add something.
Yes, that's fine. Go ahead.
Like in the demonstration of Egypt, one shouting Egypt, one protester saying Islam is the answer, and I suppose at the same demonstration, another protester says Tunisia is the solution. Now, is Tunisia a solution to Egypt's problems? Or does it say Tunisia has got the same problems, and I was sent by Tunisia to come to this demonstration of Egypt also to air our dismay at the Egyptian government or at the Tunisian government? You know, that type of confusion. There is always confusion in the ranks of oppositions or people who want to seize power. And most times, those people who are demonstrating are not the one who should be spearheading the regime change. They are just proxies. They are just sent with ammunition, but ammunition which is not enough. Those with enough ammunition are sitting somewhere at home, fearing not to be exposed because they are also hibernators. They are in a
Okay.
just like
Thank
the
you
case in Namibia. Just like the case in Namibia. Our president, Nandi Daitwa, apparently in all quarters, she was the mastermind of some opposition that was formed some 10, 15 years ago. But she kept on hibernating in Wapo. So now everybody is claiming, but she was opposition at some time. So that double standard also things will go double standard if you start them double standard. I end there.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my brother. Sister Amina, would you like to respond? Your hand is up. Or make a comment in connection with that. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I would just like to add what the brother was saying. Going back to what we were talking about, the chanting of Islam is the solution, and others are mentioning that Tunisia is the solution, which is to look at the best interest of the country. Well, I think to do the strategies that could be put in place has to start from the grassroots, which is to work on the mindset of the people. How we work on the mindset of the people, we need to start educating each other to see each other as one to start with. So when we change our mindset, automatically the slogan will be changed. So when that is changed, whoever is put into power, also a strong accountability system have to be in place. You know, sometimes most of these people who are dictators and corrupt, they don't do these things on their own. They have a support system. They have people around them who help them to be able to exhibit these acts. But if those people around them, their mindset is changed, they have been fed to look at the best interest of the country. Mind you, it's the same mind that carried the indoctrination of our colonizers, made us to be where we are today. The same mind can again change if we change the system. So when the colonizers came, they indoctrinated a system in us that made us only look at what best serve their interests. The same system we can use now to put in our people to put the love of Africa at first, love of their country first. If this is in place, I think this will help a lot. This is one strategy, and this can only start from the grassroots. The mindset of people have to be changed, and that change cannot be without proper education. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
mhm.
May I ask what do you mean by proper education? Because if we're going to use the systems, like you say, that were established by the colonialists to propagate our own ideas, how effective is this going to be, considering that we're in a neo-colonial context where those that are interested in our demise are
When
throwing
I
maybe leaders to us and
when
supporting them?
when we talk about like proper education, we are not talking about the education that the colonial masters put in place for us.
Mm-hmm.
Education that serves the best interests of Africa, the education that was written by Africans, education that was discovered by Africans, not what was brought to us. You understand? These are the kind of education we need, and only that education can take Africa forward. Because any other education that was brought to us, we either know it or not. Underneath there is something hidden that does not serve our interests.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at our most educated ones in diaspora and other countries. When you put them in power, what do? They become Western puppets
Mm-hmm.
because they think only Western education only Western education is what can make you a better person, what can make you stand out. But not knowing that that education, yes, it can help you with one or two things, but then when it comes to you being you, it's not there. It's like they strip you off.
Yeah.
So you
Right. Thank you.
cannot be without them. And we don't need
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yes. Right. Thank you very much, my sister. I've got an example of Zimbabwe. I'm Zimbabwean.
Hmm.
The Zimbabwean government tried to introduce their own system, their own education, and their own parallel system that almost is running concurrently with Cambridge, Oxford type education. And what's happening in the country is because the government has forced people to take the children through the Zimbabwean system, the parents still insist on their kids sitting privately within the school system, the Cambridge, because they are hoping to get their kids out of the country and go elsewhere. And that's where you have the education that you're talking about, that we need to educate the parents to see the importance, but they should also see the systems working. And in this country, the systems are not, the intentions are good, but the systems are not working because of high unemployment and so on. Thank you very much. I will give Sir Welcome 1 minute to make a comment, and then we can move on to other people who have not made any contributions yet. Sir Welcome, 1 minute. Your hand is up, Sir Welcome.
Sister Tabua,
Yes.
I've said it so many times,
Mm-hmm.
and I will continue saying it so many times
Mm-hmm.
until it sinks in our skulls.
Mm-hmm.
Sister Amina, Thank you so much. And Kwame Nkrumah has said, those who have studied in the US have got a different mentality. Those who have studied in Ghana, a different mentality. You see, when you get educated in England, number one, you fall in love with the culture. Number two, you fall in love with the environment. And number three, you fall in love with the system itself. Imagine somebody having lived in England for 10 years and now he's coming back to Zimbabwe. Is he Zimbabwean or is he English in Zimbabwe? That's where the problem is. Everything that he sees it from the perspective of the environment that has shaped him to be the person that he is now. What do you expect from him? The education system, we did not develop an education system. We have inherited an education system, just like you rightly put, Cambridge system. Whose system is that? What is that system going to teach us? If I had time, I will never take my children to any formal education. I would have taught them myself at school. Teach them theology, teach them African spirituality, teach them subjects that will get them bonded with their environment. Education that will teach them to be African and to love themselves as African. We cannot get a solution to Africa if we do not develop our own educational system. That's where our problem. That's where we are puppets of the West. And I forgot to mention that if you are opposition, you are influenced by geopolitics. If the current president is pro-West, the opposition will be pro-East. If the current leadership is pro-East, the opposition will be pro-West. So they are being instigated by forces, external forces as well. Not only the corruption that they sink, but there's an invisible ground. Topple this guy that is pro-BRICS so that America can come in. That's how it happened. So our opposition has never been genuine, driven by a pure political ideology. They were opportunists in many a time.
Thank you very much. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Say welcome. Can I take this opportunity to ask Brother Pigbin if he can speak to make his contribution?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, my brother.
Now, there are a few things I'm picking up from this reading. And permit me to start with the first section. Here, when we look at I'm interested in the second paragraph, that for every force in nature, there is a counterforce. That's very important. But again, if you look at the initial starter paragraph, you say that the first paragraph, it says that the part of the book has been difficult to write because, as noted earlier, it will have been curious and even cruel to suggest that freedom fighters have been jailed and tortured for their courageous struggle for freedom should have done things differently, and thus, by inference, deserve the punishment or the fate they suffer. What I'm interested in is the last part of it, which says that, however, this is not the intention. As we saw in the previous chapter, not all revolutions succeed. Failed revolutions not only cost life as well as resources, but also set back the march for freedom. Anytime people go out to try to make a change and it doesn't work out, they get so discouraged. It costs a lot. That's why we look at this we should expect here that for every force in nature, there's a counterforce. Anytime you try to think that you're going to overthrow a government, they will also rebel. And they say that a force dominates because a counterforce is either non-existent or weak. And what we are trying to sort here is starting by the weakness in the opposition. So we are starting to sort the weaknesses in the opposition, which means the only reason or some of the reason why the despot or tyrannic leadership is insistent is because the counterforce of the opposition is weak. That's also very
Sister Tabua, can you mute yourself for a second?
All right, I'll do that.
Now, then, I'm also interested in the paragraph that said that with such weak resistance, tyrants frown, they dominate, and so they dominate and become smug. So that's also very important. And you look at even the paragraph that the sentence that first says that in too many places, the opposition is hopelessly fragmented, very disorganized, and prone to squabbling. That's the problem we are facing in Kenya today, and it's common in many other countries, where we want to remove President Ruto, but the united opposition is no longer united. I'm also interested in the second line of that says that the opposition message of freedom has also become contaminated. So whatever message they have is contaminated, and it's contaminated with what? With religion, with ideology, tribalism, succession issues, and some sectarian issues. So the opposition cannot agree because maybe one opposition side is either religious, either Islam, Christian. Others ideology are either capitalists, others want to be either socialist. Others from this tribe, others from that tribe. Others are the one who want to be the leader to retrieve the outgoing. So all these are fragmentation that we see. But we are also told that these autocrats are masters at outsmarting their quarrelsome opponents and quashing protests. And you have seen that. These guys, sometimes when people try to remove the dictators or those in power, they think that they're foolish. We have to remember always that they are masters in outsmarting the people. And in bringing down the protest, they are masters. So you see, it's very important, that's why the author is now calling us that for those of us in the struggle, for corrective steps to be taken, critical self-appraisal and review of strategy are necessary. And he's saying very well in this intention that he's trying to alert so many scenarios where the opposition have blundered. And we look, for example, at Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, there were 92 opposition parties coming up, and they were ethnically based. In Kenya, here we have 96. My party might be 97 or 98, but we're in the whole process of doing that. Those are a few things I wanted to alert, alongside also what we wanted to alert here was those who become liberators change now to be the tyrants. And you see maybe people like Akina Museveni who went to the forest now don't want to leave power. People like Akina Kagame and the rest are in the same scenario. And when you go down here, you see it talks about now the use of IT, technology, and those other things. And also the highlight paragraph that has been said that when they talk about Islam, somebody say Tunisia. So I think those are a few things that I wanted also to highlight. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sister Tapua. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for giving us a summative analysis of the passage. But I'm going back to Sir Welcome's comment, which seemed to imply that this system does not work for us as a people, as a continent, as Africans. Should we go along with this system? Because all the countries are suffering the same problem. And because of who we are and the tendencies of grouping into either tribal or certain affiliation groups, what system should we come up with? I know Brother Ifo has had his hand up. My brother, would you like to unmute yourself and make your contribution, please? Just 1 minute so that we give others a chance to come in. Thank you.
Okay, just one correction. It's a
Okay.
philosophical correction.
Okay.
It's not that the system is not working. The system is
Mm,
working. It's doing
mm.
exactly what it was designed to do.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, it was designed to destroy us, and it is doing it quite
Mhm,
effectively. That's one.
mhm.
And then the second thing is, like I said about Sankofa, we do not need a new system.
Okay.
We have systems that have existed for thousands of years before we were invaded. What we need
Mm,
collectively to do is to remember that the answers are already there. And we just need
mm,
to learn to trust in ourselves, trust in our ancient traditions, and move forward with it.
mm.
Um, one second. And when we do that, we would learn to know who we are.
Mhm,
When the issue is not tribalism, technically is not the issue.
mm,
That is a divide and conquer brought around by colonialism. If we truly understand ourselves and the way our ancestors work, we will have the spirit of Ubuntu. So I know I'm
mhm.
Isoko. That doesn't stop me from being in unison with anyone that is from any other cultural or national background. But if
Okay.
we identify ourselves based on how the colonialists people told us we are, then we have an issue. So it all comes back to really, truly unlearning the colonial ways and knowing who we are. That's it.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, brother. Ifo, may I know where you're from, or which connection you are with, which African connection you are in?
Oh, I am Isoko. The British invaded our land and mistakenly called it Nigeria. I do not recognize it. I also
Okay.
currently am in temporary exile for the last 35 years in a place that they call Canada, also by the British with land that they stole as well. And
Okay.
unlike
Right.
what has been said about those of us who have lived outside, the longer I live here, the more I love Africa and the more I hate this place. Thank you.
I agree with you. I'm one of those who spend years out there, and I'm trying to get back into Africa. The reason why I'm asking this is, if we were the opposition and we got into power today, how would we implement what you're saying? Because I totally agree, and I think a lot of people in the group agree with what you're saying. But how do we go about implementing it?
Was that for me
Over
or
to you,
just
man.
general?
Yes, it's to you first, and then anyone else can come in.
Okay, I have two answers. The
Mm-hmm,
All African People's Revolutionary Party, which was started by Nkrumah way back in the day, is still alive and kicking. Blueprint has
mm-hmm,
already been put out and it was released back in, I don't know, the 30s or 40s or 50s. It's there.
mm-hmm,
Secondly, if you're talking about the colonial territory that they call Nigeria, there's also a political party called MOP, which is Movement of the People. It was started by
mm-hmm,
Fela Kuti. Party is still alive and kicking, and the systems are already there. It's just that the colonial powers don't want us to unite on those principles. Thank you.
mm-hmm. Okay, so bearing that in mind, what should we do? We're the opposition. We've come into power now. We've got those parties going. How do we go about making sure they start working and get to the people and implement what we need? Because we were talking parties, we're talking about old systems that we had. How do the political parties that were formed by Nkrumah and the others fit in with how we are sankoffering? Because I'm thinking of how how we can turn it into, you know, action and practice.
I
Sister
see other
Grace.
hands, so I'll let
Oh,
them
sorry.
answer.
Okay. Sister Grace, 1 minute.
Okay. Just agreeing with what Brother Ifo has just said, that the system is working, and because it was designed to do just that. So what's happened is that whilst we are trying so hard to implement these colonial systems, we continue to wipe out everything we knew about our own systems. So you've now got generations who know nothing about the old systems, and they've been educated under the colonial system. So that seems to be all they know. And without understanding them, still trying to implement them. And it's all going so wrong. In my country, we had traditional courts as well as the conventional courts, the legal ones. For the same reason, I don't know who told them, they abolished the traditional courts. So we knew both system, how the both system worked. But they abolished, when we took over to multi-party, they abolished the traditional courts, leaving us with this system that no one understands and cannot implement. In the end, it's just corruption, whichever way they want to interpret it.
All right.
So to
Very
go
much,
back,
sister. Uh-huh.
to go
Just
back,
20 to
yeah,
wire to
to go back, I have noticed in my country, like I keep saying, accessing education in Malawi up to this point has been almost impossible. So you have a huge population that hasn't gone to school or dropped out. Those people have come up with their own system. They are now fighting the elites and the educated. And because they are the majority, they have built their own system and they seem to be winning. And that's why we had a different type of results this election, because they were driving the force, the campaigns and everything. They know how to use social media. Somehow they
Okay.
know how to use it. So they're
Okay,
coming
thank you.
up with the system with chiefs in their own communities. And
Okay.
now they're having people in power like the mayors, the
Mhm.
speakers, and bringing in a completely different way of doing things.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, my sister, for the example of Malawi and how it's going an alternative route. I'm trying to identify people who have not made any contributions yet so that we give them space to make some contribution. I think some people have fallen out. We've got General Anunnaki. General, what's your comment on the section that we've read? General Anunnaki? General, right. I don't think he's able to speak. Can I go back to the question that I had about how to implement the old systems, since we're also alienated from them? And our brother Ifo has said, yes, the Sahel is on its way to trying what we need to try. What should they be doing next, or what could be done, considering, for example, what we've been reading in our conscientism class about Nkrumah suggesting that we cannot run away from the fact that Christianity is there, Islam is there, African traditional religion is there. We need to find a new way of integrating these things into the African system. What's your into the new Africa? What's your comment? Anyone? Because it's almost nigh impossible to turn everyone back to traditional African religion, because we need to attain the Africa that we think of with the people that we have. Any suggestions about strategies that the opposition can use based on the passage that we've read? Brother Pigbin.
Brother Pigeon. What
Is
does
there
our
any? Sorry, you can go ahead. Say welcome.
I just wanted to ask Brother Pigeon.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe before I come to Brother Pigeon, Brother Ifo said something. Brother Ifo said something very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
The party of Kwame Nkrumah is there.
Mm-hmm.
The other party in his colonial territory of Nigeria is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think many a time those parties are archived,
Mm-hmm.
because when the other guys came to power, they tried by all means to kill those parties, to kill the legacy of their forebearers. And it is those parties that carries the ideology that was meant to take Africa forward.
Mm-hmm.
If we can revert to the ideologies of those parties, then we will implement what we are supposed to be implementing. I think that's what Brother Ifo said.
Mm.
But the problem is the awareness of the current electorate to take them back along memory lane, so that they can realize freedom and development of Africa was based on these ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
Not taste nice today because we only want to hear corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Corruption is bad leadership. And they say dictatorship. He has been too long in power, 15 years too long in power, without pointing out he has been too long in power. What has he done wrong? They are only told he's a dictator. He does not serve. If he does not do terms, then he's a dictator.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So your
Thank
last
you so
question
much.
was,
Mm.
thank you.
No, you can go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
Your last question slipped my mind before I made a comment to Ifo.
What I've been trying to get at is, if we are the opposition, what is it that we must do to counter what we've identified is the problem? Because it's one thing identifying what the problem is, or what the challenges are, or what the West intends for us to continue to be confused. What should we do? Because we've got this party that's been said is there, which you're saying is archived. You've got people who are getting elected who are puppets, who don't want to implement those things because their masters do not want Africa to go the direction that Kwame Nkrumah and the others wanted it to go. So what is it that we must do? We, the people who are the opposition. That was the question that.
Sister
Oh, thank you.
Sapua,
Thank you,
can I
sister.
come in?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
yes, thank you.
And Brother Pigeon, before you come in, what is our ideology there that we are peddling? Is it also corruption there in Kenya? Thank you.
No, thank you. You see, my little understanding on the political issues since I joined consciously is that there are two philosophies. There are materialists and idealists. Now, these two philosophies then generate so many ideologies. So the idealist can generate several ideologies that might be counter what we want.
Sister Tapua, mute a little bit, please.
Okay,
Then
so
the materialist can have another ideology. Now let me go back to political level. Nkrumah founded the CPP. And the CPP actually offered mostly consciously and got the independence of Ghana. And you remember Nkrumah going to CPP was when he was after the Gold Coast Party, United Gold Coast Party. And he felt that there was no proper either ideological implementation or clarity. That's why he went for CPP. Now, when Nkrumah was close to being overthrown, I think he's only founded the All African People's Revolutionary Party. But he has recommended this party in his book, The Handbook for Revolutionary Warfare. On that particular level, in the writings of Nkrumah in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, Nkrumah is becoming a bit militant in his approach because he's trying to understand that the democratic processes, so-called democratic processes, is not tenable to even change a dictator. And even if you change and get a revolutionary leader, the systems of democracy might not sustain the leader. And that's what happened when he realized that he was ousted, and then he came to Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare. If you look at how Nkrumah discussed the strategy and organization of a revolution in the Handbook of Revolutionary Warfare, Nkrumah reached a level of consciousness that the revolution in the continent may not be peaceful through the ballot to democracy, but maybe we might reach a level of being violent and being militant, too militant. That's what we are getting from Nkrumah in the two parties. So Nkrumah is the author of two parties. But again, politics in Africa revolves around persons and parties. So there's so many called political parties that exist in the countries, like what has been listed to be 92 political parties or 93. Basically, those are 93 individuals rather than 92 political parties, but individuals. Because parties lack a common ideology and philosophy. The party I'm founding in Kenya here, Accountability and Transparency Party, prior to myself getting to fascism, or before the 2019, his ideology was closer to something called social democracy, which I just read somewhere. But in his reformation on his registration that's ongoing, the ideology of the party is consciousness, something very new that even the officers are not aware of. So it's still incumbent on me to bring down the ideology the simplest way possible so that the people can understand the ideology, and how the ideology can form policies, and that policies can then inform their actions and their values. Now, this is lacking. Apart from a political party in South Africa called EFF, Economic Freedom Party, we know they fight for freedom, economic freedom, from their name. Our party is Accountability and Transparency Party in Kenya. Of course, you can say we fight for accountability and transparency based on our name. So there are a lot of some mismatch on the people understanding the ideology and the philosophy of the party, and to be able to be disciplined enough to be guided by that. I think it's Sekoture or Ameka Cabral talking about this in one of his books on revolutions. And I think that is what is most important. The higher cadre of political parties must understand the advantages, the importance, and subscribe to the ideology and philosophy of the party. And they must do their best through what we call mass education to conscientize the population to also understand and master the ideology and the philosophy of the party. Because as Nkrumah says and Sankara echoes, that the revolution requires a vanguard party. In fact, Sankara, having been a militant or a leader of the military, towards his last days in power, he had recommended that the revolution must get a vanguard, which means as a coup leader or as a military leader, he was looking forward to form a political party. Talk about mass movement. We talk about political reorientation. Those are programs we can start, political orientation, that Sankara started in his country. But Nkrumah reminds us, I think in the neocolonial, the last stage of imperialism, that the revolution belongs to the masses. Until the masses are conscientized, because they are the only safeguard of a revolution. So I think the strength of opposition is to conscientize the masses. If the opposition do not even understand the philosophy, the ideology, and the principles and the policies of the direction, it will be very hard for them to conscientize the masses. So the masses are the safeguard and the protectors of any successful revolution. If it's not with the masses, it is with the few militants who will always control. That's what I like to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Pigbin. I'm just wondering whether we can read the two paragraphs coming under the subtitle Opposition, Unity or Alliance or Democratic Forces, because that's where some of our answers are in terms of what we're discussing. Is that
That's why
okay?
I have highlighted that paragraph. That's why I highlighted that paragraph so that you can read it a bit. So please,
Okay,
let's
I'm
read.
going to read it right now. And maybe if you can scroll us down to the second paragraph, if you may, when I get there. So, opposition unity or alliance of democratic forces, which is really important for progress in terms of removing the despot. As we saw in the previous chapter, two key ingredients in a successful non-violent revolution are the receptivity of the regime to change and opposition unity. No single individual or group by itself can effect political change. It takes a united opposition or an alliance of democratic forces. At any moment in time, resistance to despotic rule comes from several sources: political parties, professional groups, student groups, church groups, business groups, trade union workers, and ordinary citizens, both inside and outside the country. But too often, they operate separately or independently. Some advocate democracy, others intellectual freedom, and still others religious freedom. However, their activities are not coordinated. There is no concerted effort and no road map. The primary focus of all opposition groups, sorry, I've missed first line, I need the first line, right. The primary focus of all opposition groups should be to remove the despotic regime from power and establish a level political playing field. The despot will never establish a level political or economic playing field. Thus, when a transition process is being drawn up, all energies should be on halting or changing the process. All other issues, such as who should be president, what type of ideology the country should follow, a political platform, whether the country should have a new currency or a new flag, are irrelevant and secondary. These issues are divisive, and nothing delights a tyrant more than a divided opposition. Should I go on? Should I stop there?
No, stop there if you wish.
Yes, because of time. Sorry, any comments with regard to the section that the two paragraphs that we just read as possible solutions? Can someone maybe sum up or come up with any other contribution based on these two paragraphs? There are no hands up. Can I ask anyone who has not spoken to maybe make a contribution? General Anunnaki, you'd said you needed 5 minutes. Are you ready to speak?
No, Sister Tapua, just
Yes.
finish that paragraph because there's a subheading coming below. So just finish the two paragraphs that are remaining.
Oh, the two paragraphs that are remaining. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so which paragraph am I starting? All right. If the despotic regime is drawing up rules for a transition to democracy, all energies must be focused on ensuring that the rules are indeed fair and just, and that the political field is level. An independent electoral commission is imperative for a free and fair election, and all energies must be channeled to ensure that the commission is indeed independent. This was not the case in Belarus in the December 19, 2010 presidential election. Long-term dictator Alexander Lukashenko won handily because his government controlled the media, the intelligence agency called the KGB, security, and the police forces. In addition, the head of the Electoral Commission, Lydia Emoshina, was in the pocket of Lukashenko. Worse, the opposition was split between 9 opposition candidates challenging Lukashenko. They did not stand a chance. Should I end there? I think so.
Yeah, let's end there.
All right. Any comments from anyone? Could I make a comment? I know I'm the chair.
You're the chair, so you can proceed.
Right. I think for me, particularly in the Zimbabwean context, this is very pertinent because after we've had several failed elections that were deemed to be not free and fair, the African bodies that Zimbabwe falls under recommended that we have electoral commission and all that. And just like in Belarus, they all fell under the influence of the ruling party, including who was working where, including changing the constituencies and manipulating the electorate, and to the point of even the ballot paper, the names on the ballot paper, you'd have the picture of the person who's got a political party next to a name of another party. And that was supposed to confuse the people to the extent that the ruling party is alleged to be forming parties, political parties, so that the opposition cannot unite. And these people are paid to just cause confusion. So once people, we are aware that we need to level the playing field, though the dictators do not want the playing field level. So there is a challenge. I'll stop there for now. Any other
Yes.
contribution?
Let me do what's going on in Namibia, brother Windhoek. Is it the same scenario as what's going on in Zimbabwe?
Yes, it is. The leader of the official opposition before the current one was even rightly being bankrolled by government to remain opposition. You stick to the devil that you know rather than the angel that you do not know. And that's how they play it. Current oppositions that sprang up are splinters from the ruling. Did they spring up out of their own, or were they enticed to form opposition? So these are the questions that one begs to be answered. But they behave exactly the same way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. From Ghana, is it the same scenario? Anybody from Ghana can confirm? Okay, we don't have our Ghanaian brothers and sisters today. Okay, in South Africa, is it the same thing? Look at South African opposition, for example. Jacob Zuma.
Yes.
From where?
From the
Malema.
ANC. From the
From
ANC.
where? I think the only people who have started a bit, even the PSC, where did the PSC come from?
From the ANC.
Now, it means, even in Kenya today, the people who are calling themselves United Opposition was former deputy president, two former deputy president, former minister of interior, and former minister of defense. What is that? Same scenario. I don't know if that's the case in Malawi, Sister Chisomo. Is there that
Oh, there's
play?
only one party in Malawi.
No, I don't think so. Sister Chisomo, is she around?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, what's the question?
This play of dividing the oppositions, buying the electoral commission, and ensuring that there's a continuous fragmentation, is it the same thing you're seeing in Malawi?
Maintaining the fragmentation. Sorry, I didn't hear the reading.
Okay, what you're saying is that you realize that the oppositions are maintained to be there, as many as possible. Now, look for a take case example. What happened in Tanzania? Madam Suluhu detained the strong opposition leaders, then invite 17 people to run for presidency, so that you can then call that election that it was democratic because there were so many presidential aspirants, and end up getting 98%. What is that?
Somebody said we have one political party.
Yeah, somebody was saying the Malawi only have one political party.
Can he just explain that one before I answer?
No, he's asking the question, do you have one political party or not?
No, we have many.
Okay,
And
that
we had 17 candidates during our elections, which belong to different parties. So
let me give you a clear example in Kenya. For example, let me just tell you a scenario in Kenya. In 2022, when I was running for presidency, there were 57 presidential aspirants. 57. Out of 57, I was, of course, the youngest in the list. There were 47 who were independent candidates, so they never belonged to a political party. 10 were from political parties. Then the Electoral Commission gave us the form for going to seek supporters for the presidency. The form you go to collect endorsement for presidency. We were supposed to collect 48,000 signatures across the country endorsing our candidature, whether you are in a political party or you're an independent candidate. Now, those forms, we picked them on April 20th, 2022. And we were supposed to return them in a month's time. So in a month's time, you need to give the all resources to go around the country and collect the signatures. Now, in the signature form, there was no place for contact. But when we were returning the form, a week towards the date we were supposed to return the forms to the Electoral Commission, the Electoral Commission then says that those forms must come with photocopies of IDs of those who signed. Now, Femi, you've done all your process. If maybe you managed, you've collected 48,000 signatures, you've collected from different people in the villages, you brought them in the city. There's no contact of these people. How do you go back to the village to start looking for their photocopies of ID?
And there was nothing in the document asking for that information.
There was only ID number, signature, and their names.
So they didn't want the ID number anymore.
Now they want a photocopy of that ID.
Yeah.
And that was 1 week to the deadline of meeting, of the deadline of the qualification. So you remember, this is an electoral commission coming up with a technical strategy.
So,
Mhm.
so were you disqualified for not providing these ID cards, copies?
That is what happened.
Sure.
In 1 week term, we could not be able to go back and collect the ID. Now, surprisingly, some candidates who were never known, because they were this current president and the former prime minister, the late former prime minister Raila Odinga, they were the top candidates. Now, some candidates actually brought the ID copies. I don't know how they knew it, because they could buy it from any other sources possible, hospitals, telecommunication companies, and anything else. They could buy it very fast and see how they could work out. Some of them who even tried to submit their forms were told that their documents were never seen. Some were told that this flash disk of soft copy data was found to be empty. Some were told that either after, because you're bringing 48,000 people and take to the electoral commission for them to verify whether they are 48,000. So they do their own verification. They tell you, no, we found 20,000 are not working. So you go look for another 20,000. It's 2 days or 1 day you're being given. Now, these are the technicalities that then the electoral commission bring in cahoot with the government if they're working with government. Now, 2 candidates came into the list out of 57. Only 4 found themselves on the ballot.
Yes.
2 were known as very prominent candidates. So there were new 2 were introduced. One was a bishop who was never had anywhere that was part of the presidential or whatever, because he was never popular. Nobody even knew him.
Yes.
He
Comrade Pigben,
I'm
can I ask
finishing,
you to
Sister
explain
Tapua.
that so we can have, because of time, so we can have Brother Coco, whose hand has been up for a while.
I'm just finishing with this.
Thank
So
you.
there was a candidate who was a bishop who was never known, but surprisingly qualified to get those photocopies of ID. We don't know how. And the other person was this guy who was Rastafarian, who was fighting for ganja. Was a lawyer who was never known, only came in the last year of election and also found himself on the ballot. Now, it says even the election is manufactured, organized, and is for the benefit of the ruling government, the way they want it. Thank you. That's what I wanted to highlight.
Okay, in answer to that, yes, we do have that as well.
Sorry, sister. Can I ask Brother Coco to make his contribution, because we've got 5 minutes to the end of the meeting. Sorry. Brother Coco,
thank you,
can
my
you
sister.
come in and make your contribution, please?
Thank you very much. Apologies, I was late. I was really overslept last night, so I was catching up on sleep this evening. What we are reading from in the text provided today was more about the split in the opposition, the fragmentation of the opposition, as well as the control of the Independence Electoral Commission. So with regards to the fragmentation of the opposition, that works in the favor of the ruling party. And we have seen them doing that in several countries. But in other cases, as in South Africa, it didn't work for the ruling party in that case. It worked against them, because what happened is the new party, MK, led by Zuma, came in and took lots and lots of votes from the ANC and forced the ANC to go to bed with the new colonialist DA. So South Africa is completely different picture in that case. But talking about fragmentation is what is a weakness in most of us as Africans. If we really wisen up, we'll realize just how much we lose out by fragmenting against the ruling party, the incumbent party. Is a problem as Africans. And this problem goes far It doesn't just limit itself to politics. Look at what happens when the parents passed away most of the time. The children, instead of uniting and uh, working on the estate together, they will rather divide that estate. They will rather split it. And even the way Africa has been populated, you can argue, was a symptom of this. Most of the younger or the those who inherited the kingdom will continue in the existing kingdom, but the younger ones will go further and forth to find a new political sphere for themselves. So we need to go up and understand how do we make alliances? How do we unite to take out the ruling party? This is the problem which we need to address. With regards to the independent electoral commission, I really don't know how that can be independent. It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. Again, it's another model that comes from the West. It's hard to have it as independent as possible so that we can take out the incumbent. There are many, many issues about that. That's all I can say for now. Thank you. Conscious of time.
Right. Thank you very much. The second penultimate paragraph that we read ends by saying that the problem with opposition parties is there is no roadmap, and that opposition parties should not worry about who's the president and so on. They should focus on removing the dictator. How practical is that? Is that the problem that we have? That the opposition cannot unite because we're focusing on who's going to be doing what. How do we overcome that? And maybe if we have one person making a contribution, and then I'll hand back to Brother Pigman to sum up and close the meeting for us.
So can I please take that on board?
Yes.
I played football growing up as a young man. What I've noticed in football is that everyone wants to be a Ronaldo. Everyone wants to be a Messi. Everyone wants to be a Zidane. All of those players who have flair or are well known. Again, it's a symptom of a system in which we are captured. We tend to want to rule. Every one of us wants to rule. We cannot all rule, right? We need to know what the voice of the people is. And that voice of the people is to be represented. It doesn't matter by who. So what we have to start working on a plan now is have a united front. If we as Pan-Africans, as we are here, we come together and say, I want to rule in Lesotho, I want to rule in South Africa, but we need to have a leader on a Pan-African scale. It doesn't matter who it is. We have to unite under that leader, and that leader represents our ideology. That leader is someone we have bred, someone we have sent up there to represent the people. This is what we're supposed to be looking at, looking how to unite, not who to unite under. And I think one of the guys sent a message in the group one day to say that Africans are mostly person-centric. We should not be person-centric. We should be systematic in approach. What is it that we want? We need to unite under that one leader. And so I don't want to take too much of time, but in the case of Lesotho, they found the kingdom of Lesotho, not the Lesotho which you see now, Moshoeshoe, who then is created to be the founding father of this nation. He came from a minor clan, but what he did, he got alliances from all the other people who put him ahead, especially his uncles who came from a bigger clan, which helped him. He wasn't such a famous young man at the time, but he was someone who they all hoped he can turn things around for them during a time when it was very dangerous in Southern Africa. So it's something like that we need to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother. I think what we're learning from the passage is that when we want to take down the despots, we need to focus beyond the person who's the dictator and focus on what we want to achieve for the people before we start fighting for positions. Because if we unite under the type of Africa that we want to be, or the type of Zimbabwe that we want to be, and agree on the things that we need to put in place to make this place, whatever country we're talking about, livable and accessible to the people's wishes, besides the leaders, then whoever we elect will know that this is what we need to do because they would have agreed on it. I will stop here for now as being the chair and hand over to Brother Pigbin because of time. We're 2 minutes past the hour.
Sister Tapua, thank you. I think we have to appreciate you very much for your chairship. It has been very engaging, and I believe members are actually been also grateful and enjoying this session. It's my wish that we have maybe another chair next time so that we continue this reading. But I think we are in chapter 7, now looking at the strategy. And as we get that opposition is one of the strategies, we are also learning the weakness of opposition and how to fix that weakness. So the first part was the weak opposition, which is the challenge, and then the alliance of the opposition and the rest, which should be the solution. So we are doing two things at once. Go back again and look at what is the weakness and read what is the solution. So we look forward to continuing this in our next session. And I believe that we'll meet again so that we continue on Monday. Please always spare your time. I know it's very expensive to have that or time, but please always join us on Mondays. Thank you very much for today. And those who have joined us for the first time, let's meet again on next Monday. Bye bye for now.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.